Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio, and today, first of all, I want to thank you for joining me. Today's topic is something interesting. I just did a big speaker event. And so during the speaker event, there were a lot of great speakers. And so I was excited and honored to be part of this 3-day event. And I got to meet some of I have heroes. I got to meet some of my heroes and people I admire. And I wanted to share this piece of insight that struck me as I was listening to all these speakers, because it's rare that I can get an opportunity to listen to different types of speakers in one location. Usually we go to an event, maybe we hear one or two speakers, but we're talking about 10 to maybe 15 speakers. So you start to get an idea of what each speaker talks about. And if you're like me, I like to look at not only the content, but I also look at the delivery system. So those are the two things I monitor. And if you ever have to present in front of a client, which I'm sure you do, remember, there's content and then there's the delivery system. Those are the two things I look at. You know, how good is their content? How persuasive is their content? But more importantly, how good is their delivery system? Here's the issue. If you have great content, but your delivery system is off, in other words, you're not delivering it or framing it in the right way, you won't penetrate the brain, the mindset of your audience or your customer as effectively. Now, I know people who have great delivery systems, very persuasive, but when you really think about their content, there's not much there. So that's that was the paradigm I had. But now I want to just scrape the surface of this paradigm, content delivery system, and I found a new level that I want to share with you. And I'm excited about this because, I as a speaker, I love to kind of break apart a speech. And this hit me during the actual, I think in the second day, it really hit me. And I realized there's two types of speakers out there. I now have a new category. One is a descriptive speaker, and one is a prescriptive speaker. Descriptive, prescriptive, let me walk through the difference, see if you agree. A descriptive speaker, again, let's assume they have great content, great delivery system already. That in place, they're either prescriptive or descriptive, and they can be both. But I noticed that the majority are one or the other, almost like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. 80% of the speakers I listened to were descriptive, with a D, descriptive. And what do I mean by descriptive? They will describe the sales process. They will describe what is happening in the market. They will describe the changes that are going on in the market. They'll talk about what's happening, how things are changing, and how the world of selling is changing. Very descriptive. They'll talk about, for example, clients today, before they contact a company, they'll look at 10 sources of information, and they're 57 or 90% into the buying cycle, depending on who you want to believe. So they'll talk about what's happening not only in the market, they'll talk about what's happening in the market segments, companies, and they'll talk about how buyers are changing. So that's one type of speaker, a descriptive speaker. The other person is the prescriptive, with a P, prescriptive speaker, and that's a different type of speaker. The descriptive speaker will tell you about what is happening or what's going on or how things are changing. So descriptive people are into the what and the how. Yeah, here's how things are changing. What I notice is that prescriptive speakers tell you what you should do. They're very tactical. If we can separate the two, descriptive is more strategic. Prescriptive could be considered more tactical. Prescriptive speaker says, look, now that you understand what's going on in the market, how things are changing, here's what you need to do. And they're very prescriptive in the sense that they'll say, here's a path, here's what you need to do, here's how you need to change your behavior. Prescriptive speakers speak more to behavioral changes, things you need to do differently in order to achieve success in whatever market you're in. And I thought that was fascinating. Now let's turn it around on you, the listener. When you're talking to your customer, are you more descriptive or prescriptive? What's your balance? Like an EQ, what's your balance? And I think there's a combination of both. You need to be descriptive, talk about what's going on in the market, how things are changing, but then be prescriptive in what they need to do. So for example, if you sell a SaaS product, you're an enterprise level company, B2B, you sell a SaaS product, right? And when you go in there, you can talk about what is happening in the market, how things are changing. And as you move toward your product, talking about your product, you now need to become very prescriptive. Here's how this product is going to be used, and here's how you're going to implement it within your system or systems. Here's how your company is going to execute on using this specific software. And when you become prescriptive, you're now talking about very tangible steps. Let's be clear here. I'm talking about very tangible steps. Look, give you an example. Mr. Customer, here's the product we sell. Once you implement this product, here's what's going to happen. Step number 1, we're going to have to train your employees. 2, once we train them, we're going to show them how to use the key, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You'll be able to monitor your KPIs, and this is what you're looking for. And if one KPI is off, for example, KPI number 1, that tells you that you now have to begin doing this. If KPI number 2 is off, begin doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, KPI. You get the idea. On and on. It's very descriptive in the sense that here's kind of what's going on, but prescriptive in how you implement it. And so in this conference, there was the 80-20 rule. I saw a lot of descriptive speakers talking about, again, what's happening in the market, how things are changing, but very few prescribing really tactical step-by-step implementation plans that actually the conference person that was actually in the audience could take away back home. Because isn't that what people want? When you go to a conference, what do people want? They want takeaways. Great, I love the philosophy, I love to hear at a high level what's going on, but I need to know from a tangible standpoint, what can I take back tomorrow and begin implementing the next day? That is when you become prescriptive. And I think the best speakers are those that are descriptive, but are not afraid to be prescriptive. Too often on that stage, I saw too much descriptive, and not enough prescription. Here's what you need to do to be successful. So think about how you present and what is your balance? When you're talking to a customer, what percentage are you prescriptive and what percentage are you descriptive? And maybe there's an interesting balance there to be played. Maybe you need to be more descriptive with a new customer to kind of describe what's going on and less prescriptive. But maybe if you have an existing customer, you want to be more descriptive in terms of explaining why the change, but maybe really go deep into the prescription. Here's how it works. Here's how you're going to implement it. Here's what you can do. And that is it for this Sales Influence podcast. Give me some feedback on this one. I want to know what you think. Again, 2 types of speaker, descriptive, prescriptive, or combination of both. What do you think the percentages should be, or what conditions would you change for those percentages? Again, that's it for this Sales Influence podcast. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. I greatly appreciate you. You know I do. Also, check out my online sales training platform, the Sales Velocity Academy. We just added a new program. Go check it out. Over 400 videos, 41 courses, all my books. If you're serious about increasing your sales velocity, go to thesalesvelocityacademy.com. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.